Hello, everyone. Welcome to the fourth edition of the Shooting with the Shooters interview series. My name is Big Rat 310, and my guest at this moment is.
Nightmareballa1. I've been doing this for a while, so y'all know my voice.
Thank you, Markeem. And, Markeem, let's get this thing rolling. I have to ask you the perennial question that I ask everyone. How did you get into pro wrestling?
That's an interesting question because I really don't have an answer for you.
Like,
Honestly, as long as I can remember, I've been watching wrestling. To be honest with
wow.
you.
Wow, LV told us something very similar last week. Like when you grew up, that's what you remember from birth almost, just constantly
Yeah,
watching wrestling.
yeah. It's wild because everyone asks me like, why you like it so much, and I really don't have an answer for 'em.
Wow. And were your parents big fans?
My mom was a huge fan. Before she passed away, she was a huge Undertaker mark. Just crazy, crazy. Undertaker and Diamond Dallas Page.
Wow. Damn. Those are the two of her big faves?
Like you wouldn't believe, especially the Undertaker. Couldn't say anything bad about Taker.
All right. Well, then I got a better question to ask. When you were young, you were a huge ECW fan. Explain how that had a big influence on your love of pro wrestling.
Okay, this is what happened with that. One morning I was well, it wasn't even more. It was like really late at night. It was like I don't consider night morning like people do. It was
Neither
like
do I.
it was like 2 a.m. and I was watching something on Fox. And cause like back in the day on Fox, they would show like a lot of these infomercials and stuff like that. And then all of a sudden, the ECW theme came on. This was like 1996, and the ECW theme came on. And I was like, "Whoa, what is this?" And I seen guys I seen the original theme, guys getting hit in the head with ladders and
Wow.
guys were eating and stuff. And I was like, "What the fuck is this?" You know what I mean? And then after that, I watched the entire episode, and pretty much all the episode was promos and stuff like that. But it was at the time they were hyping up. I think Dr. Death was coming or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and they were hyping it up like I can't wait till Steve Williams gets here. I show him what I got and all that stuff. He's a legend in Japan. It was different people talking. I think it was guys like Taz and a few other people. It was actually pretty cool. Um, and then after that, I thought it was just real cool how they did that. And then like every week they would show like little matches and stuff like that. Now here's the biggest problem with that show. I did not have any idea what time it came on because every Thursday night it'd be like at a different time between like 2 and 5. Keep in mind I'm
Wow.
like in the second, third grade. I got to get up for school the next day, but
Wow.
every Thursday and Friday night it would come on at a different time, really really late. It was crazy.
And you would always stay up to watch it.
Every night, every time, every single time.
So for this was like for 5 years?
Yeah,
Jeez.
until the TNN deal.
And you would wake up in the morning exhausted, go to school, next week do
Yep,
it again?
yep.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did your parents know about this?
My mom was really upset when she found out. But it got to the point where she knew she couldn't stop me.
Ah,
So
I got you. I got you.
like I remember she tried to take the TV out of my room, and
Wow.
I went in the living room, just cut the volume kind of low.
Yeah, I got you.
It was crazy.
And what? This is kind of going back before then. If you don't, I understand how you don't necessarily know how you got into wrestling. But what's your? Do you have an earliest memory, or is your earliest memory ECW?
My earliest memory is Shawn Michaels. I think whichever SummerSlam where he jumped over the top rope on Vader. I just remember that. It just will always stick out in my head.
Yeah,
Yeah, that one.
that one. All right, I got you. Now let's
That
move on.
was wild, man. Shawn Michaels is a beast, man.
Favorite wrestler of all time, right?
Of course.
Can
Not
you?
even close.
What's the top three again? Michaels, Kabashi, and who else?
Michaels, Kobashi, and it's a toss up between Terry Funk and Taz. So,
Wow. Yeah, I got you. All right, now let's move on to another perennial question. How did you get into YouTube?
oh shit. All right, YouTube in general. I used to watch like anime and stuff like that, not watch it on YouTube. But one day I just decided, a lot of like the stuff I've been hearing about in Japan, it was going on and stuff like that, and I couldn't really see it. Like Kenta and Marufuji were having this series like back in '06, and I couldn't really see it. So I just looked it up on YouTube, and that's why I saw those matches. I was like, oh, okay. And then one day I stumbled across Bill and Doug, and this is at a time where the WWE really, really sucked. It was like early '07, and they were talking about how shit was terrible and stuff like that. I mean, don't get me wrong, it wasn't as bad as it was like end of 2006, but it still wasn't very good.
Hmm.
And I was like, these guys are kind of right. They're going a little overboard, but they're kind of right. And I was reading through the comments or whatever, and I'm like, damn, people really hate these dudes. And I was like, I really don't think what they're saying is that crazy. So my first video was actually a response to them, and
Hmm.
and I actually agree with a lot of the shit they were saying. And if you look back, it's like they actually accepted that response because back in the day they wouldn't accept your response if you disagree with them. That's just kind of how they went.
Wow.
But they were wild, man. I still don't like Doug, but Bill's cool. But yeah, they actually accepted that response, and then after that, I was like, hey, I could actually do this. Yeah, I got a lot of comments. A lot of people didn't agree with what I said, but and after that, I was like, you know what, I'm gonna give this a try, and then there you go. Then I
Wow.
saw other guys like True Slayer, of course, and I remember when he told me he liked my videos, I was like, wow. True Slayer, this guy knows everything about everything. I was shocked by that. And then of course, guys like More Virus back in '07, Crazy Mike was around. Um, just guys like that. I remember Isbasar back in the day. I used to really like him.
Yeah,
Um,
I know what you're talking about.
it's just other guys. I just can't remember. And Oliver Scott, of course, because he influenced a lot of stuff I do. So
So let's get into that. You have a reputation for being one of the guys that started talking about independent pro wrestling, and Oliver. Just talk about Oliver Scott and how he related to that.
that dude's amazing, man. Like he pretty much anybody at the time, anybody that was on the indie scene, he could tell you about them. Like he knew, like any guy that had like even the smallest buzz, he could tell you about them. He could tell you about any promotion with the smallest amount of buzz. He was amazing. Like he had like a real like different take on everything he saw. Like he thought about wrestling different from anybody else I ever seen. Man, he was prop for the longest. He was my favorite dude on here, like without question,
Wow.
my favorite guy.
What happened to him?
I'm not exactly sure. Like, I talked to him a few times. I wouldn't necessarily say we were close friends, but he's a good guy. So
Yeah. All right. So then you kind of at what point, like you said, you started with Bill and Doug with mainstream. At what point when you were doing this could you say, "Hey, let me talk about this other stuff on here as well"?
when I stopped watching mainstream wrestling, like honestly, like around, I would say the end of 2007, I just kind of said fuck the WWE and TNA. Like,
Hmm.
I would kind of watch TNA, but I didn't really watch the WWE that much,
Hmm.
and I just kind of said fuck it. I talked about what I watched. So
And did you get negative feedback at first of people saying like, "Why are you talking about this crap?"
my views plummeted for a while,
Wow.
and then people realized that this is what my channel was going to be now. So
Yeah.
they
All
kind
right.
of jumped with it.
And also, I noticed this a lot in the early part of your channel. Um, when you first started on here, were talking a lot about MMA. Why did that kind of stop over the years?
Because everyone talks about MMA, no need for me to do it. Honestly,
Well, you use that excuse for indie wrestling, but people still demand your reviews.
yeah, well, I don't know. Like, honestly, I'm gonna get a lot of heat for this, but I'm not even into MMA like I used to be. It's just I don't know. Like, I think the whole luster behind it's kind of gone because everybody watches the shit now. Like, I hate to sound like a jerk. You know what I mean? Some people sound elitist when they say that, but
Yeah.
honestly, that's how I feel. Like when you hear people that don't know anything about it talk about it, it's just a turn off.
That's
Like,
awesome.
if I hear one more time someone say, "Man, that nigga Kimbo Slice, knock that motherfucker out," if I hear that one more time, I'm done.
I got you. So I'm curious though, because I only started getting into the MMA scene in 2009. How was it back then, like in '07?
You mean on YouTube or just in
Yeah,
general?
on YouTube.
It was a few people, but it wasn't like what it turned into. Like one of my favorite dudes, probably my favorite guy that made MMA videos, guy by the name of Hat Trick Hockey 17. Guy was amazing. Good dude, Chase. I play PS3 with him sometimes. He's a good guy, and he made amazing videos. He was to me he was the best at it. Period. You know what I mean? So it
And
was a few people, but he really stuck out to me.
and also not just indie wrestling was Oliver Scott. I mean, I don't know. That wasn't my time. Was it the same with Japanese wrestling back then?
What you mean, Oliver Scott talking about?
Yeah,
What you,
and the people that talked about indie wrestling, like right now, like myself, Sanders, Eric, yourself, we also talk about Japan from time to time. Was it like that back then?
yeah, yeah, definitely.
Okay, so you kind of like brought it over to the forefront.
Yeah.
And do you think, because you've been at this the longest when it comes to indie wrestling, do you think there has been a bigger following of it on YouTube that more people actually talk about it, or is it not that much different?
No, it's a lot bigger, and I'm glad too, because like seems like everyone, even if they don't always make like indie reviews and things like that, you pretty much at least on everyone's channel that I've ever seen that I watch, they talk about a company that's not necessarily on TV at least one time, and
Wow.
I'm glad about that. Really glad about that.
All right. Now let's move on to two independent wrestling loves of yours. The first one is obvious, but we'll talk about that one a little later. I think you know what it's going to be. But let's go into the second one a little more because that's become a very big part, actually, of a somewhat decent part of YouTube nowadays. How did your love for Ring of Honor start?
Uh, okay. Now, see, I'd heard of Ring of Honor, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this was like 2003. And I heard the place. It was like they get a lot of the top guys on the independents. You like IWA. At the time I was huge in IWA, and they talk about Ring of Honor on IWA shows and shit like that. So but I had never actually seen the show. And then it was 2004. I went to the pawn shop, and in the bargain bin I saw War of the Wire 1. The
Wow.
very first one with Homicide and Steve Carino,
Yeah.
and you remember that show? And
Yeah, and Joe and AJ.
Joe and AJ, yeah. And I actually bought it at the pawn shop for $4.
Wow.
So I put it in. I was like, wow, that was actually a pretty cool show from top to bottom. And then I would check up on them. I see a few matches here and there. Of course, Joe Punk. I had to get that show because all the buzz it had, the whole series. I pretty much got all them when it happened. But then I wasn't necessarily a fan. But then I found out about them getting the pay-per-view deal back in 2007, and like no, it was actually before that when Joe cut that promo at Final Battle 06. Like
Yeah.
I'd heard about it, and I was like, oh man, Samoa Joe just called out Masawa. You know what I mean? That's fucking nuts. Yeah.
Yeah.
And after that, I really got heavy into what what are they doing now? What's going on and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And then I found out about them getting a pay-per-view. The pay-per-view deal they had back in
Mm-hmm.
07, 08. And I was like, okay, I'm going to really, really try and get in this company now. And I'm glad I did.
Wow. And and now, like, would you say it's your second favorite wrestling company?
No,
What is?
probably PWG.
Is it number 3?
Yeah.
All right.
Yes, I said it. Yes, I said it, all you ROH marks. Yes, I said it.
Well, since you mentioned it, talk about PWG.
Because I feel like this, okay? The biggest problem I have with PWG is that they don't have storylines. I've said that a bunch. You know what I mean? But the
Yeah.
thing is that every single PWG show, it feels like something. Like Ring of Honor shows, when it's obvious filler. Like you just know. You know what I mean? Like when you buy this DVD, it's going to be obvious filler. You know what I mean? At least with PWG shows, if you look at the cards, they all seem like big cards. That's
Yeah.
why I like PWG.
I got you.
To be honest with you, so
And when did that start for PWG?
it being second.
No, yeah, and your love for it in general.
Oh, okay. No, PWG. That's a tricky one. Like, I didn't really start watching PWG till 2007. First show I got was no, actually it was the end of no. I remember the first show I ever got was the first Battle of Los Angeles. That was like the end of 2006
Oh,
because
fuck.
I got the first one and the second one at the same time. Yeah, I
Oh.
mean the one in '05, the one in '06 at the
Yeah.
same time. I
Yeah.
watched the 105, and I was like, this is really overhyped. Because yeah, at the time it was a big deal. I'd heard about it. I heard it was happening. And, it had like a lot of top guys. I was like, okay, this is a big fucking deal. You know what I mean? I need to at least check this out. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
And I watched it. I was like, you know what? That tournament was okay. Wasn't the best match on the tournament was actually a non-tournament match. I was
Oh.
like, okay, fine, whatever. And then I watched 2006, and I thought it was fucking amazing. I thought
Oh.
the night 3 is like every single match on there, at least in my opinion, is at least good. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And that show, night 3, Battle of Los Angeles, I was like, this company is for real. You know what I mean? Then that's when I started getting into the talent, like, Arrogance, which I thought is a very, like, from that era, from 2005 to like 2007, that's a very underrated tag team. Like, that's Chris Bosh and Scott Loss, for people that don't know. Like,
Yeah.
all their matches, are like up there with some of the best tag teams on the indies. They were one of my favorite teams to watch. And, guys like that, I like Super Dragon, of course, Kevin Steen, of course, you know, uh, guys like that from that era. So, and
Yeah.
that was the first time I saw Davey Richards. So,
I got you. And so now, before we talk about the obvious one, I forgot we do have to talk about one more. Your former favorite independent professional wrestling company, IWA Mid South. How did that start?
well, honestly, that was the first non ECW, unless you want to call, if you want to call ECW in the indie, that's the first non ECW indie I watched. You know what I mean? And it's because I heard about Chris Hero and CM Punk's 90-minute match. If you've never seen that, I really suggest checking that out. But
Right.
they had like a 90-minute match, and it was like getting a lot of buzz everywhere because these guys went for 90 minutes. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I saw the match, and I was like, wow, that was pretty damn great. And after that, I got the shows pretty consistently. I saw TPI 03, TPI 04, which is to me the best indie tournament of all time. To me, it's probably the second or third best tournament of all time. Straight up, that tournament is that. If you ever wanted to get into indie, you wanted to get somebody just into the atmosphere and the guys that you see on the indies and stuff, just the whole style of indie wrestling, get them that tournament. It's fucking amazing. But anyway, that the Josh Abercrombie Tyler Black feud from a couple years later. You had and they had some great angles too. It just that company, and then they did deathmatch wrestling, and they did it right. You know what I mean? They did. It was so many styles that company had, and I just felt like there was something for everybody on every show, and you
Hmm.
really don't get that feeling anymore from any company, at all. So it was just it. I fucking loved that. I loved that company. I used to love that company.
What happened?
It started to suck.
Well, when, where, why?
Uh, I'd say it started to suck like 2008, and I'm not even sure why. To be honest with you,
It just started, just a gradual
it
decline.
it just got worse and worse. It was crazy. I
And,
can't explain it.
and when did you just say "fuck this shit"?
Uh, I can't remember, but I remember the last show I really liked was the 2008 TPI. I thought
Hmm.
that was a really cool tournament, but it's the TPI, of course. It's going to be a cool tournament, but I just remember like really liking that show, and like since then, nothing else.
Wow. And and when did you? I don't know if you can remember. When did you officially like stop buying the shows?
uh, hmm, I couldn't tell you off the top of the head, to be honest. I just know that it was probably early '09. I think I want to say early '09.
I gotcha. And was that the like ECW died in '01? So you started watching this by around that same time?
2002 was when
Okay.
I started watching Nightmareballa.
All right. I gotcha. And so did you hear how they came back, right?
Yeah, I heard.
Any chance you're gonna be watching any of their shows anytime soon?
Um, Hell to the no. Yeah.
Wow.
No.
Wow.
No.
All right then. Uh, Before we talk about the obvious, if you will please, because I actually got a question about this. It just says the guy wants to remain anonymous. What are his thoughts on CCW as a whole from its inception to now?
From its inception to now,
Yeah.
well, when it first started, it was terrible. Like it was people talk about how bad 2007 was, but I don't think it was. It couldn't like it was not worse than when it first started. It's just some of the stuff I would like. I watched one CZW show from that era, and I was like, this is terrible. Like this is a notch above backyard wrestling, straight up.
Wow, that's pretty
And
bad.
it was awful. And then some of the stuff was cool, like the first best in the best tournament,
Hmm.
best of the best tournament. That's actually a pretty cool tournament. It's some stuff here and there, like all the best of the best to me were actually not bad. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
they had different things about it that I like, but for the most part, it was garbage. And then 2005 happened, and that entire year was really good, and it was like it was so just I was shocked. They had like interesting angles, interesting characters, and things like that. And I was like, man, this shit is actually really good.
Wow.
Then the ROH CZW angle started, and ROH did such a great job with it. CZW did such a shitty job with it. And it's like like if you look, it's polar opposites. Because if you look at ROH, they were bringing in so many CZW guys and putting them over as ultimate heels and stuff like that. And you look at CZW, Generation Next came in for a match, like a couple of matches. You know what I mean? Brian Danielson came in for a promo,
Wow.
and what? Who else? Who else was it? I can't remember. But you would think they would get guys like maybe Samoa Joe or something like that, and they never did. It was wow. It was just bad. They dropped the ball with that. And yeah, this year, and I would say last year too, CZW's been a lot better. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
So I can't,
definitely.
I got to admit that best of the best 10 this year is probably
But
one of the best shows of the year. So
awesome show.
got to be honest.
Yeah. All right, now the one that everyone's been waiting for. My favorite promotion. Your favorite promotion. Let's talk about some Chicana.
I love that place. It's just fun, just fun.
How did it start with you?
I actually went to Tag World Grand Prix Night One.
Mhm.
I think it was in Reading. It was that was years ago though.
Oh,
And
six.
yeah, '05. I
Oh,
was
five.
I was I was kind of slimmer then. I didn't wear glasses, and I had it was fun, And then after that, I would hear about stuff, but I didn't really watch until the first. What was it? The first Tag World Grand Prix in the arena. That was '06, I think, when the Kings of for the titles when they introduced the titles. I
Yeah,
think that was the Kings of Wrestling won that tournament,
yeah.
and they were tearing shit up all around the Indies, and I was big on Hero and Claudio, and that's when I started watching again. I watched here and there, but I didn't buy every show like I do now. So
Yeah.
and then after that, I just kind of ran with it, man. Like 2007 rolled around, and that's when the first King of Trios happened, and that tournament that's so underrated because the rest of them,
Yeah.
like that tournament is great, and it's so underrated because the rest of them are just awesome. So,
Yeah.
the, and then after that, man, I've been just so enthralled with everything they've done. To be honest with you,
What officially put it as your favorite promotion? Like if an
B,
angle or an event?
the BDK,
That's
right
true.
when that happened, right when, like, I mean, as soon as just everything happened, as soon as Aries and Tursis took off those masks, I was like, whoa. Did not. I'm pretty sure a lot of people didn't even realize who that was when he took off the mask. Because I
Yeah.
knew as soon as he took off the mask, I was like, oh, Claudio, there we go. I knew he was going to turn right when that happened. Because I don't look at Chikara spoilers because that ruins the shows.
Agreed.
Because those shows are so storyline driven. You have to just watch them and the angles and everything, by themselves. You can't just watch, the shows for the matches because the matches are like a fourth of what you get from Chikara, to be honest. Not even half, like a fourth. So
Yeah.
wouldn't recommend that. But yeah, when that happened, I just thought that was the craziest thing ever. And then everyone started pretty much, revealing themselves. Vocator was Tim Donst, and wasn't Carpenter Aunt Pinky Sanchez. It
Yeah.
wasn't. Yeah, that was crazy, crazy. I couldn't believe that. Like probably the greatest angle that I've seen on the Independence, and that includes the Age of the Fall. I really mean that.
Wow. A little shameless pandering from myself here, but if you have not seen this year's King of Trios, there's something wrong with you.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I would definitely agree with that.
Please go check it out at smartmarkvideo.com. I'll have links in the description box for a lot of the indie companies that we're talking about in case someone here has never heard of them.
And you should get all the best of DVDs for your car if you
Yes.
haven't and you're watching this video.
Yes, definitely. All right, now let's move on to another big, probably your biggest love in the world right now. I don't know if that's saying too much. Let's talk about comic books.
Oh man, don't get me started.
We're getting you started. How did that start?
Um, what? I mean, I'm that's another one I'm not exactly sure. I know the first comic I ever read was a Spider-Man comic.
Wow.
Not sure what it was though, and it was something that was a lot older than what I was.
What?
So I know I was 7 at the time, something like
Okay.
that.
Was this before or after you started watching wrestling?
Uh, Definitely after because I've been watching wrestling forever. So
Oh, that's true. And just like what started your comic book, like is there a specific series that in the '90s that made you say, okay, I got to start reading more of these? Or
um, when I read Nightfall for the first time, if y'all don't know, that's the debut of Bane, with Batman's one of Batman's main villains. Yeah, but y'all going to see him in the Dark Knight Rises. I'm pretty sure everyone watching this video to see that movie. But yeah, he was. I just thought he was so cool, man. He was smart. Yeah, he was huge. He outsmarted Batman, which was unheard of, and he was just he was so much bigger. I thought Batman was such a badass and he was unbeatable. But Bane pretty much broke him in every sense of the word. Even broke his back. That's a pretty iconic scene, in, like the history of comic books. Like a lot of you have seen that, don't even realize you've seen it. But you've seen it. It's that iconic. So yeah.
and so Nightfall is what basically got you into it, got your love for comics.
Yes.
All
Like
right,
that it kept me there.
let's start with questions from Mr. Guns. What is your favorite book ever?
The Dark Knight Returns.
What's
Not
your,
close.
not close?
Not close.
Well, is there a second place?
Uh, it's far away from that one.
Or which? Or what? Do you have a second?
Um, I don't know. I guess Superman Secret Identity or Kingdom Come or something like that. But maybe even Marvels or something like that. But they're all just so far away from that one.
All right. What's your favorite single issue?
Single issue is the one where Bane broke Batman without question. Like that's amazing.
What's your favorite comic story arc of all time?
Story arc, either the Kree Scroll War or fuck. I don't know, but Kree Scroll War and Infinity Gauntlet. Those are the two that stick out the most.
Now we go to a question from Gmen1096. He asks Marvel or DC, and I kind of expound upon that. Marvel or DC now, in the 80s, in the 90s, and 2000s. Go.
Well, now I may have to say DC just because of the relaunch, because everything like that I've read for the most part has been at least okay. Nothing's been terrible. So I would say right now maybe possibly DC, even though I'm more partial to Marvel because for the past few years, which is mostly 2000s, I'd say they've been better than DC for the most part. And
80s.
80s, you said 80s.
Yeah.
I guess that would also be DC. I guess
90s.
and 90s would. Mm, I get because of JLA DC. So yeah.
Wow, I can't even believe that. 2000s for Marvels. Even with when you told me at one point that Spider-Man was quote-unquote unbearable for the latter
Yeah,
half.
but a lot of the other stuff was actually pretty good. Like I thought Cap was really good. Like from 2005 onward. You got what else? I thought Daredevil. To me, I thought Daredevil's never been bad. And then you had Brian Michael Bendis' run. That a lot of people say it's the best run he's ever had on a comic, and I gotta agree with those people. So, you know, they had a lot of other stuff. Even though Spider-Man was almost unreadable. So
I got you. Now, my personal opinion, the best question that I have of any question. So listen to this. This is by Willows 1991. What comic book character would make a great wrestler, either face or heel, and with what actual wrestler would you have them feud with?
oh my god, that is amazing.
Yep.
Captain America, without question, as a face versus Kevin Steen as a heel.
That's awesome.
It would be amazing. Can you imagine? Can you imagine imagine if Kevin Steen did like an anti-America angle with his mic skills against
Yeah.
Captain America? That'd be wild.
Yeah. That'd be pretty awesome.
The blow off has to be like a no rope barbed wire match though, something like that. That'd be amazing.
And a heel to feud with the face?
Let's see. So you're saying like a comic book villain?
Yeah.
Um, Bane, and Rey Mysterio. There you go. There you go. Or something like the Abomination versus Rey Mysterio. Some big guy versus Rey Mysterio. That'd be great.
Bane or the Abomination. That sounds awesome. Thank you very much for that question. That question was great. All right. Next, we move on to another one of your... Oh, actually, one more comic book question from someone who wanted to remain anonymous. Now, I know you get asked this question a lot, but hey, you have to answer it. What are your top 5 favorite comic books right now?
Oh my god. This is the 4th time this week. This right here is the 4th time this week.
All
Okay,
right.
top 4.
Okay.
Uncanny X-Force,
Mm-hmm.
Invincible Iron Man,
Mm-hmm.
Irredeemable,
Mm-hmm.
Green Lantern.
Really? Number 1?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean Green Lantern, I've loved Green Lantern for the past 3 years. So
All right.
Green Lantern
Mm-hmm.
and I guess The Walking Dead.
Yeah. Oh, what about Punisher Max?
Yeah, Punisher Max, never mind. That's probably ahead of The Walking Dead right now.
Punisher Max, Green Lantern, Irredeemable, Uncanny X-Force, Invincible Iron Man.
Yeah.
Which one's your overall number 1?
It's a tie right now.
Wow.
A 3-way tie.
Wow.
Irredeemable, Invincible Iron Man, Uncanny X-Force.
Pick those books up, people.
Yeah, yes. God.
All right, now let's move on to another love of yours that you don't really talk that much about on YouTube. Well, at least not recently. Talk about your love for college sports, whether it be college football or college basketball.
Oh man, Virginia Tech Hokies football, Duke Blue Devils basketball. But with that being said, I would trade every Duke Blue Devils basketball title for one Virginia Tech Hokie national title.
Wow.
I would.
Wow.
I'm such a big Hokie fan. Oh my god, like you wouldn't believe.
When did that start?
Since I was a kid, I was born in Newport News, Virginia. So
I got you. And ever since then, you've just constantly been rooting for VA?
yeah. Well, no, because I hate every other team in the state of Virginia except the Hokies. So
Is that in all sports or just in college football?
just college football.
Who's your basketball team?
Duke Blue Devils.
No, I meant regular.
Oh, NBA.
Yeah.
Okay, don't laugh, people. But the Sacramento Kings.
You're gonna have to explain that.
When I was a kid, I just was a huge fan of Mitch Richmond, and that kind of just stuck.
And what are your comments on the state of the Kings now?
They suck. Next question.
NFL team.
Philadelphia Eagles.
Well, what's the story behind that?
I don't know. I just always that's the team I chose. You know,
Yeah.
I hated the Cowboys, I hated the Redskins, and I always hated the Giants. So
All right. And is VA Tech number 1?
yeah, probably them. Well, them were the Eagles. I don't know.
And we've had several conversations on said topic, but why do you prefer college sports over professional?
I just think the excitement. I think that the anything can happen environment just makes everything just overall better. Like nothing is better than March Madness. People talk about the randomness of it, and how this team, they beat this team that's obviously better than them because they hit a few shots and stuff like. Don't I don't give a fuck. Everyone's glued to the screen when March Madness is going on. Everyone's filling out their bracket, and at the end of the day, everyone looks foolish because it's some team that no one expects that usually wins. And it's always fun. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Same thing with the college football season. Every time you got a team number one, you're like, they got to keep winning, or this season is drastically altered. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it makes the regular season like nothing you'll ever see in your life. The NFL season, the fucking Seahawks made the playoffs last year, and it was 7-9. So
I got
don't
you.
give me no shit about oh, you need a real playoff system for college football. No, you don't. You don't. Just win. How about that? Just win.
Great mindset. How do you usually fare in the March Madness as far as getting it right?
There was a point in time. There was like a 6-year period from like 99 to like 2004 where I got every single champion.
Wow.
I was on a roll. Like that year Carmelo Anthony led Syracuse to the title,
Mm-hmm.
I was the only person in the world that probably picked them before the fucking season started. Before the season started, I said they win it all. I said they go undefeated. I was wrong about that, but I said they win it all.
Wow. And who'd you pick this past year?
I was wrong as hell this year. Who did I pick? I think I picked Ohio State. I was wrong as hell.
All right. Now let's get into some of the other questions that we have. This one's from our good friend Honorhammer26. He has several. One, are you a fan of the FIFA franchise?
The game, yeah, the games, yeah, they're fun. I don't know anything about soccer, but those games are fun.
Who do you think is the most underrated and overrated athletes in pro sports?
Overrated. I love the guy because he's playing for us, but I got to be fucking honest, Michael Vick, because every year he breaks down, and it happens every year. It happened last year. It happens every year, and he makes a lot of mistakes. He does. He throws a lot of picks. He runs when he doesn't always have to. He's exciting as hell to watch. He has a cannon for an arm, but he makes terrible decisions. And until people realize whatever, he's always gonna be. Oh, he's the most exciting player to watch, but that doesn't make him the best player. You know what I mean? And underrated. Danny Granger is a beast at the Indiana Pacers. He always scores a lot of points and no one pays attention. So I go with Danny Granger for right now.
And who's your most hated athlete in pro sports?
Most hated athlete.
I think I know the answer.
I don't know who you think, but I can't think of anybody.
What about a one Kyrie Irving?
Oh yeah. Oh fuck that guy. I forgot about him. I don't like him because I'm selfish. He got it. Okay, if y'all don't know, Kyrie Irving was the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft. And he came from the Duke Blue Devils. I hate him because he was injured all year. Like, he played like 8 games all season. He was in the NCAA tournament. He was average the entire tournament. And for him to just, leave us like that without even giving us a full season pisses me off. Hate that guy.
And last question from Hammer26. What one thing has Chikara never done that you would like to see them do?
All right, well, they did a cage match, so I can't say that.
They're doing iPay-per-view.
Yeah, iPay-per-view. That's a very good question.
Yeah.
I think a 6-man title would be cool. King of Trios.
Yeah.
It'd be cool for them to actually have a title. That'd be cool.
I got you.
The Colony, they probably run with those belts forever. So.
All right. Moving on. 2 more questions from Mr. Guns that we didn't get to. What's your favorite wrestling angle of all time?
Wrestling angle of all time?
Mm-hmm.
It was almost one, but I'm gonna go with the one that it actually is, and that's probably the BDK. To be honest with you.
Wow. And what was the one? Okay.
Because that just caught me by total surprise, man. Like y'all don't understand how shocked I was about that. Like I was so shocked.
And
I mean, like earth shattering for me. That was like for my comic book fans. That was like when you found out that the Thunderbolts were the masters of evil back in the '90s. Like it was that type shit. If you're a comic book geek, you know what I'm talking about. It was that type shit. It was crazy.
another,
But I was going to say the Nexus. Like it was almost that.
wow. And
They fucked it up.
yeah.
Because when that started, I was there. But
Hello?
y'all know I love Wade Barrett. I was so into Wade Barrett. Yeah.
All right. Just making sure. And when that started, what, you were just like a big time fan of it?
Yeah. Like I'm still like I was really into Wade Barrett. Y'all know that. He was. I just think he does everything right except Russell. That guy has a great look. He
Yeah.
can talk. He's a phenomenal leader. Like he could get me to beat a motherfucker up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But he just can't wrestle. That's his biggest problem. I was so into that angle. Y'all don't believe. Y'all check my Twitter when all that shit was going on. I was so into that angle. I watched Raw every week because of that angle. I really did. Even when Bryan Danielson got fired, I was still into that angle. So
What was the last straw that you'd officially decided they fucked it up?
I felt like that throughout the angle, but the one where I was like, okay, this shit is officially dead. When Cena got fired and kept showing up on Raw.
Yeah.
That was bullshit.
And it's kind of ironic because right before that, they were almost at their peak, I would say, with that whole Barrett-Randy Orton match, which I was really looking forward to. But
that was shit.
Yep. I was there. And also for Mr. Guns, what was your favorite match?
Of all time?
Mm-hmm.
Oh my God. You're asking me to go through the almost 23-year plus experience of me watching wrestling.
Yep.
My favorite match of all time.
You can pick a top 5 if you want.
No, you know what? Maybe Masawa Kobashi, the hour-long draw, maybe.
Was this the one in 03?
No, that was the one in
98?
Yeah, 98, there you go. Maybe Taker Michaels won. Fucking love that match.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe even the Ladder War one. I don't know. It's a lot, man. It's a ton. Brett and Austin definitely. I don't know. It's a lot.
We'll say those 3: Brett Austin, Taker Michaels, and Masawa Kobashi.
Yeah.
All right. Next question is from Gold Standard 000. What was the moment in wrestling that hooked you on wrestling forever?
And shout to that guy, man. He always comments on my videos and shit. I like that guy. Probably when Hogan turned heel. To be honest with you.
Wow.
That was crazy. I remember my mom when we watched that. I can remember we didn't order many WCW pay-per-views, but that was one of the ones we ordered. And when he turned heel, she gasped, like she just lost it because she was like, I can't believe that, because she been watching wrestling since she was a little girl, and Hogan was the face of all faces,
Yeah.
Yeah, that was crazy.
And finally, our last question. From Man on Fire 310. If Jim Cornette were to have Kevin Steen wrestle someone at Final Battle for a contract, would you rather have Davey Richards, Steve Corino, or someone else to bring in from Japan?
See, here's the thing. I would do I wouldn't necessarily book this to be like a great match. I would do something along the lines of maybe Steve Corino and Jim Cornette versus Kevin Steen. You know what I mean? Something like that.
That would be great.
I would, because so they can interact in the ring with each other. Because Jim Cornette is just as much involved with this whole thing as everyone else.
Yeah.
If you saw Death Before Dishonor, he's throwing punches and shit at Kevin. So yeah, I would do something like that. That's just me.
Also, this is something I also do at the end of all my interviews. Who is Nightmareballa1 outside of YouTube and pro wrestling and comic books?
Well, Nightmareballa1 is Markeem Antoine Jamar Graham. I was born in Newport News, Virginia. raised in Columbia, South Carolina. Um, Graduated from Columbia High School. Never been to college. I'm a manager of a Starbucks on Harbison Boulevard. It's fucking terrible, by the way. Um, I'm also a freelance carpenter. I'm working on having my own business in that, but I have to go to school for that, so that ain't gonna happen no time soon. And shit, I don't know what else. What else would you like to know?
You said a lot enough.
I'm a huge comic book fan, as y'all know.
Yep.
Huge anime fan. Y'all didn't know that, so.
Oh, and also, some people would kill me if I didn't ask you this question. What exactly is your love with fighting games?
Oh man. Well, I forgot about that. I should have brought that up. It all started back in about '95 when I would go to pretty much the arcade every day, play what was it, Street Fighter 2 Turbo, Super
Mm-hmm.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo,
Mm-hmm.
and I was hooked on that game. I wasted so many quarters on that, and I was just so hooked on that game. Then the Alpha series came out, and then Alpha 3 came out, and I took that one really seriously. Like I've really played Alpha 3 a lot, to the point where I actually got competitive with it, and I would travel, and I played some big name guys like a guy by the name of Clockwork. He's a big time Marvel vs. Capcom 2 player, pretty much a legend on that game. I played him at that. I actually beat him at that before, and a lot of just I took it real serious, man. And now I'm trying to get back into it, so
I got you.
and I'm just a fan of the scene in general. Like I would say this: if you've never been to like a wrestling show, you know, the only thing I would say that kind of matches that energy is a big fighting game tournament. Like I went to final round back in what was it, 2004, and that energy was off the charts. So I would definitely recommend that.
How many people go to those things?
It depends on what you're going through. Like if it's a major, it's a lot of people. Like Evo this year had, I think, like upwards of like 9,000 people that were actually there.
Wow.
Something like that. Something like that. I could be wrong about that. And a lot of people watched. They had like 80,000 people watching all at once. Like 2 million people watched in one day, and like 4 million through the entire weekend. So.
And these are just people. Do all these people like go to the tournaments themselves, or are some of these literally people just fans?
Some of the people are literally just fans. Like some people just go to watch,
Wow.
and like I know a lot of people they don't go to enter. They just go to meet their favorite players and shit like that.
Wow. All right. And is there anything you would like to plug before we go?
My Twitter, twitter.com / or back whatever that slash is, Nightmareballa1. My YouTube channel, Nightmareballa1. My comic book channel, Nightmare Comics 1. And everyone else on here that does these type of videos, because I feel like we should be the biggest community on YouTube. I know I don't make many videos anymore. That's because we have great guys like Big Rat and Honor Hammer and LV, like y'all saw before, and Instant Classic 8 to do this for me. So I feel like I don't have to do this anymore.
But we all still want you back.
I know.
All right. I think that's gonna be it for today. Thank you very much, Markeem. It's been a very, very great interview, and I hope you have a nice day, man.
Who's next week? I'm curious.
Oh, actually, yeah. Thank you. It's probably my job. Actually, I'm gonna say the next 3 weeks, because the next 3 weeks are booked. Next week is gonna be Trademark 629.
That should be good.
The week after that is gonna be Sanders Robin.
That's gonna be awesome.
And the week after that is gonna be my good friend Brian. Next big thing.
Oh, yes, that's gonna be awesome. Y'all have to listen to that. That's gonna be great.
All right. Thank you for helping me. Thank you for reminding me to plug my show. So send in your questions for Trademark 629 for next week. And with that, we're out. See you.
Peace.